Discovery of networking commandlets. In this module, we'll go through the process of learning to learn. That is the art of knowing where to find help. PowerShell has one of the best help and navigational functionalities you could ask for. In this module, we're going to take a look at properties and methods. We'll also take a look at getMember, getHelp, and getCommand. These three commandlets combined give you all the information and all the help you need to find your way around PowerShell. Before we begin though, it's very important to understand that PowerShell is an object-oriented scripting language. Everything you see on the screen is an object. You might say, okay Flynn, well what's an object? Well, the best way to describe that is to think of an object as a data structure that contains data in the form of properties and methods. So in this case, we can have an object that is called llama, which contains the properties color, gender, and breed. And we can think of methods of the object of being things like eat, walk, run. When we pass objects off to a commandlet called getMember, it shows us the structure of the object and lists the properties and methods. You can think of methods as actions of doing something, like a verb type action, while properties are things that associate to the object and are required to return a value, like breed, gender, color. This is fundamental to understanding PowerShell and how it uses objects to do its magic. Alrighty, now that we're done with talking about llamas, I've jumped over here onto the ISE on my virtual server M1, and I quickly wanted to take a look into getCommand. So we can use getCommand to do searches for basically anything we're after. We can use the wildcards to specify whatever's before or after. So we can just say getCommand TCP, and that will give us back anything that has TCP in it. Now this is extremely helpful. If we don't really know what we're looking for, we can simply just use getCommand to find out about certain things. On the same path, we can also use getCommand to show us the list of commandlets that are available in a certain module. So we can say net TCP IP. This will list all of the commandlets that are available within the net TCP IP module. So we can run that by clicking on the line and pressing F8. That's how I'm running things here, if you were wondering. So as you can see here, these are all the commandlets for the net TCP IP module. We have a whole bunch of stuff available to us here that we're going to play with later on. I just want to get you used to discovery and finding your way around first, so that if you ever do get lost, you can use getCommand to get yourself back on track. While we're here, let's take a quick look into getHelp. getHelp shows us valuable information about commandlets. It's such an important piece of information to come back to time and time again so you understand how a commandlet works. Let's do something like find net route. We can run that by clicking on the line and hitting F8. So as you can see here, we get a short name, we get the synopsis, which is finds the best local IP address and best route to reach a remote address. Sounds fantastic. It shows us the syntax that we need in order to run the commandlet. It also gives us a brief description on exactly what it does and where we can find out more information. One of the really great things about getHelp is we can add this switch parameter on the end called full. Now what full does, if we run that, you can see it's given us a whole lot more information this time. It's given us examples on how to use the commandlet. So it even shows the syntax that you would need to use and also the desired outcome. It shows you a ton of information in regards to what the parameters take as input value and what can be piped to them as input value. I would definitely recommend every time you use getHelp to throw the full switch parameter on the end, take a deep look into it, because this is the place where you'll come back to time and time again to learn about commandlets. So say you've just been discovering with getCommand, you found something that you're really interested in. You said, hey, I want to work with IPv6 today. Well, first of all, you're going to need to know how to use that commandlet. You're not going to go blindly shooting in the dark trying to work it out. You're going to do a getHelp, and you're going to type in the name of the commandlet, and you're going to specify the full switch parameter on the end, and that's going to show you how to use it, what it takes as input, everything, all the descriptions, all the external links you could want to find out about that commandlet. It is just the most useful commandlet to find out about how other commandlets work. Alright, let's quickly talk about getMember. Now, going back to our llama discussion earlier, I basically, to explain how a getMember works, I essentially did a getMember when we talked about the llama. I showed the properties and the methods that llama object had available to it. Now a getMember is simply something that we can pass an object to, and it will show us the properties and methods that are available to that object. So let's do something like getNetAdapter, and we'll pipe that over to getMember. Now what this will do is it will run this commandlet and it will pass it over to getMember. It'll pass the contents over to getMember. Now what getMember will do is it will display the properties and the methods that this getNetAdapter commandlet has available to it. So I'm just going to click on the line here and press F8 to run it. And as you can see here, we have a whole bunch of properties that are available to us. And we have some methods. Now, as I mentioned earlier about the llama, a property is something that defines the object. So in this case, a net adapter has a VLAN ID. It has a system name, it has status info, it has state, it has speed. So if we go up to the methods up the top here, you'll see the things that we can do with the net adapter. Things like get hash code, things like get sim session instance ID, things like clone, dispose, equals. These are things that we can do with our object. Now, one of the most important parts about getMember, and what makes it more useful than you'd think, is that yes, it's great and we get to see all the methods and properties we have available to us. We get to see what we can work with for that commandlet, but it also gives us this type name field up the top here. Now, this looks quite long in this case. Now, what this is actually doing is it's passing the getNetAdapter commandlet over to getMember, and getMember is showing us what data type this is. Now, it's saying, hey, the data type for getNetAdapter is Microsoft.management infrastructure sim instance root blah 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 blah, and it comes to the end here and it says MSFT netadapter. Now, we usually just cut all the start of this off. We don't usually, if you're talking to someone about the data type of a netadapter, we don't usually say, oh, hey, it's a Microsoft.management.infrastructure.sim instance. We usually say, hey, it's a netadapter data type. You're not dealing with a string here or an integer. You're dealing with a netadapter data type. It's specific to that commandlet. So say we wanted to grab this MSFT netadapter. We can just copy and paste it into the ISE here. Maybe we want to go ahead and have a look at what else this netadapter data type can be used for, where it can get processed off to, what it can be accepted as input object. When we do something like this, we'll still use get command for this one. So we'll say get command, and we're going to say this time that the parameter type is of MSFT netadapter, which is what we pulled out of the getMember down here. So we can just run that. And what we'll see here is that the data type MSFT netadapter is also the same data type used in disable netadapter, enable netadapter, get, rename, restart, and set. So as you can see, the data type is very important to the commandlets, because what we want to do is if we wanted to say get netadapter, we would also want to be able to say, okay, now we can pipe this along to another commandlet that might restart that netadapter, or might rename that netadapter, or might set it netadapter to a certain value. And in order for that to happen, the two data types on either side of the pipeline need to be the same. Otherwise, we'll be going over the pipeline by property name, and that can become a bit more complicated to work with. So if we can, we want to try and keep these two data types together at all costs. But sometimes we can't, and sometimes that's fine. But it's more so to understand the benefit you gain by working with data type A on the right-hand side of the pipeline and data type A on the left-hand side of the pipeline. These two things together, they're going to pass the same data across, and this is what makes them so important. This is what makes them so unique, and this is what gives it its true flexibility. Being able to pass objects over the pipeline, being able to pass that data type on, and that data type on the other side can just go, yeah, I understand this one. This is I've got a commandlet here that accepts this input, so I'll pass that right in, and we'll execute that. Now, just to demonstrate that quickly, let's just do a quick example. Let's do a get netadapter down here. Let's just run that by itself. So when we run that by itself, we can see that we have two network adapters on this server. One of them is called management and one of them is called production. We can see that the status of one of these network adapters is set to disabled, and one of them is currently set to up. Let's do a get netadapter, and let's pipe that off to enable netadapter. We'll use the verbose common parameter at the end to give us a bit more information about what's happening as the commandlet runs in real time. Let's just click on the line and hit F8 to run it. You can see here that the verbose output is enable netadapter management, because this was the only one that was not enabled. Now if we run get netadapter again, just by highlighting it and pressing F8, we can see that now both of them are up. So just to reiterate what's happened here, get netadapter has collected both network adapters. It has passed that information via the pipeline over to enable netadapter. Now enable netadapter takes input value of the netadapter data type that was passed over from get netadapter. So it's gone, great, these match by value. I'm just going to go ahead and enable both of the network adapters that were passed over to me. Because one of them is already enabled, it's just skipped that one and just enabled the one that needed to be. So there you have it. There's an example of one data type being gathered and passed along the pipeline as input object to another commandlet on the other side, which also accepts that data type. So just to recap on this first module, we've had a look at how getHelp can help us find commandlets and find out more information about how things work in PowerShell. We can simply use getHelp by doing getHelp and then the name of the commandlet we're after. You can also do getHelp by just typing in the name of the commandlet and adding $?? to the end. Alternatively, if you want the full help, you'll need to put getHelp, the name of the commandlet, and the full switch parameter on the end. We can also specifically look into the examples of the commandlet by typing getHelp, the name of the commandlet, and then the examples switch parameter. Along with that, we can also use the showWindow switch parameter, which will display the help in an external scalable window. We've also discovered that when using getHelp, we can use wildcards to find out what we're after. We also had a look into getCommand. GetCommand allows us to discover and find commandlets throughout PowerShell. In this case, if we know we're after a verb that contains the word get, we can simply call the verb parameter followed by the value get. This will display only commandlets that have the get prefix. The same goes for noun. We can also specify noun and put in the value of the command that we're looking for. Alternatively, we can simply just type getCommand, use wildcards, and specify a portion of the command that we're looking for. We can also use getCommand just to search for parameters. This is a good way to search for commandlets that offer certain parameters. As was demonstrated earlier, we can also use getCommand to look into parameter types. This will allow us to discover what commandlets will accept as input by value when going across the pipeline. We can also look into the specific commandlets that are inside a module by specifying the module parameter. This also accepts wildcards. So, to conclude this first module, we understand how important getHelp is and how it can help us find our way around PowerShell. We also understand how important getCommand is and what it will allow us to discover in PowerShell. We've had a look into getMember and the importance of data types, and we've also taken a look at the properties and methods that are available to certain objects, which is a result of passing that object over to getMember.